Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Kevin Steuer, who's a managing partner with Stock TA. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm looking forward to chatting with you because I know that you get into the technical side of things. So we want to dive into what you're doing and how you're supporting people with your tool, but give us a little bit of your background and story and how did you get into the industry?
Yeah, I've always been an investor, trader, been doing it for a while. And I was doing some consulting work and I got introduced to the site. I'm not the original owner of the site. The site was developed, I believe, in like 1999, 2000. And I got to know the original owner and he decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So I bought it because I was a user for probably 3 or 4 years and it just really helped my trading style. And I bought the site and then I went back through with modern day AI and I found some good tech people to help me. And we basically redid the whole site. We made it more accurate and I've used it now for 5+ years. And it's just been a great tool in my toolbox to help me with investing.
Great. So just the sharper knife in the drawer that does things better. You mentioned the magic 2 letters AI. So let's dive into that. You know, that's what Stock TA does. But I'm sure you have seen over the decades that trading has changed. What have you seen trading changing? And is it only the AI aspect, or are there other things that go into how things have changed?
That's a great question. No, trading's changed a lot the past, I would say 5-6 years. I think the 0-day expiration options have really, changed the liquidity of the market, but also the leverage in the market. And I was kind of shocked. It's about 2 years ago, I saw an article that JP Morgan put out, and they estimated that 90% of all US equity volume was driven by computers, and computers use algorithms. So that stat just blew my mind. And then once I kind of started to process that a little more and kind of peel back the onion a little more, I figured I figured out real quick that that's why humans aren't the greatest at investing, because humans, anytime you have money involved, you get emotional about it. And
Yes.
I think retail trading, has a big misconception, and that's what we're trying to do, and where we're trying to help fill that void is I think a lot of retail traders think like, oh, I'm trading against Mike and he's selling Tesla and I'm buying Tesla. And that's not the game at all anymore. The game now is it's driven by bigger institutions, whether that's hedge funds, family offices, retirement funds, whatever. They're driving a lot of volume and they all have their own algorithm, right? And it's gotten very sophisticated. And if you don't have an edge and you're just trading on a narrative, you're trading on what you see on the news, a lot of times you're going to lose. So our whole thing is numbers over narrative. And we've developed this algorithm that spits out, a trend score. So you can see if something's bullish or bearish. You can see if the trend score is increasing or decreasing. So that's what we call, signal strength. If a stock is bullish and it's increasing on trend strength, it's usually going up. So that's something you want to be long. And then if you're a trader who likes to take more risk and you like to short stuff, you want to look at stuff that's losing signal strength. And what we found is a lot of retail traders, they either don't have a process or they don't have access to a tool like this. So what we've done is, we've updated this, we've upgraded it in all kinds of different ways, and it's free for retail to use. And we're basically trying to give Main Street an algorithm to fight back against Wall Street, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is this, when I hear you say, 0-day expiration, I think day traders, and I know that you're not only for day traders, but would there be use cases for day traders as well as people that just want to know, I want to get into a good ETF and sit tight for many, many days or months or quarters? Where is the benefit of your users? Do you have a specific window that really works better for one versus the other?
So we have all kinds of different traders. We had 87,000 individual users last year. And what we found interesting is we asked people to log in and just kind of fill out a short survey so we could kind of figure out what kind of trader we have. And We actually have a mix of people. So we have some, I would say a small portion are day traders. Then a bigger portion, we have options traders. So they're looking at, could be whatever their time frame is on their calls or puts. And then I would say majority of our traders are swing traders, which is what I am. And those are people kind of, basically trying to trade the trend or the momentum, however you want to say it. But people who are, not buy and hold, but trying to, minimize their risk to the downside and make asymmetric bets to the upside.
And they might be, I know we don't need to dive into deep on that, but a swing trader might be more of a 3 to 5 day, 7 day kind of a time frame versus, in 1 hour and out 10 minutes later.
Yep. And that's a great thing. I mean, I'm a swing trader myself. There are some positions I've opened in November. And some people says, oh, that would make you more of a longer term. Not necessarily. Like if the trend holds and it's going up, I'm going to ride that trend up. And whenever that trend ends and I see exhaustion in it, or the signal starts to tell me, hey, this is due for a pullback, that's when I get out.
So listening to you say those things makes me think this from a, consumer standpoint. Do I need to have the framework and the system in place and then I come in and overlay your software? Or am I able to log into your software and go, I've heard about swing trading. Tell me how I should look at it and give me some recommendations. And okay, for this batch of stocks, or options, I should be in this day, out that day, watch for this red, yellow, green. You know what I'm saying? Like, is yours like an all-in-one, or do I need to know everything and then your tool just kind of gives me the polish that I can execute on the system that I already have in place?
It's a little bit of both. I would say more of our users are more experienced and, have a system for trading, but we have a lot of how-to videos on our YouTube page, and we have a really great stock screener that shows stocks that are bullish or very bullish or breaking out, or if you're someone who trades a MACD crossover or a 520 EMA crossover, whatever that may be, we have different screens built in that you can search that. So I think, to answer your question, I think people need to have a basic knowledge of the market and have some form of strategy. I just think I think our algorithm allows them to elevate their game a little higher and play at a higher level, faster pace if that's what they're looking to do.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of like, the momentum is already happening, but now you're going to give them a little bit of, rocket fuel.
Yep, that's the goal. I mean, we're trying to help people. Like, we're not trying to be Captain Stock Picker. Like, I'm not trying to get on Twitter every day or, whatever platform and say, hey, buy Dell today or buy this today. Like, we're trying to give people another tool in their toolbox to trade, however they want to trade. And everyone, I think to be a good trader, I think you need to match your trading style with your personality. So everybody's different. Everybody has a different amount of money to play with. Everybody has different risk tolerance, a different time frame. So that's where I think our platform's really cool, is we have a lot of versatility with all those different things. And we're just giving you another tool to use, to execute trades or even just do research. Like, not every day is a day to buy in the market. Some days it's better to just sit and wait. And I think our algorithm does a really good job, picking out those signals and, front running some stuff that goes on with the market.
So since we all know that you're not the only software out there that does this, there's other softwares. What does your algorithm do that other platforms don't do? What's your competitive advantage? Because there's TradingView or Thinkorswim or whatever the case is. What are some of your, edges that you've got that will differentiate yourself?
Yeah, so I think the two main ones are our trend score. That gives you a very high level picture of what's going on with the trend. And we have a sectors page on our website, so you can kind of look at the different sectors of the market and get a, kind of a high level snapshot of what's going on. That's where I start every day. And then, the trend score gives you an exact number. So -1 is the most bearish something can be. +1 is the absolute most bullish something can be. So you're getting a score every day. So you're not guessing what the trend is. You get an exact score, and it tells you, exactly where in that time frame that trade is. Like, if you're early, if you're late, like, you don't want to chase something that's, starting to lose steam. And then the second part would be, we have a confluence system that nobody else uses. And I've tried every different kind of website. I've tried, trading's really hard. And so I've tried different systems, different setups, trying to figure out, what fits my trading style. And this site ended up actually being it, which is why I bought it. But our Confluence system is really unique. And Confluence is just a fancy term that means where things meet. And in technical trading, you look for pivot points of where stuff is going to break out to the upside or break down, or, swing points, however, there's different terms for it. But basically we use Confluence as where all these different studies that we measure and map meet. And the higher the confluence, the more confidence we have in that being, heavy support or heavy resistance, or light support or light resistance. So you can kind of look at a trade, and I like to go long stuff that has heavy support for a confluence underneath it and not much for heavy resistance overhead. So those are the asymmetric bets that I like to make. And our algorithm does a really good job basically interpreting tons of data. Like we have 166 million rows of code, and that measures and maps just about everything you can possibly imagine in a stock. And then it shoots out these really easy numbers to understand for a trend score or a confluence system. So I think, some systems I've used, there's just too much data, and it's, analysis paralysis. Like you just get stuck. Where here you can look at a stock and in a minute you can decide, like, this is a buy, this is a sell, this is a hold. Like we make it really easy to interpret all that data, because having data is great, but if you don't know how to put that into action, it doesn't do you any good. So what we've tried to do is, take a lot of complexity out of it. And trading's always going to be complex, right? Like people always say, oh, oil's up, so the stock market's down, right? Like it's never so simple as this one thing. Like there is a whole mix of things that you need to measure and map and look at. And no system's perfect. Like we don't hit on 100% of the stocks all the time, but I've had a really good win rate using this system for the last 5 years. And I think the Confluence system gives you a really easy way to understand kind of how the market is flowing and what the machine's saying. And then it's up to you as an individual, to implement that. But we give you, the information you need to try to be an educated trader is what what our goal is.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go in a little bit deeper on AI. You mentioned that you use it. Where is it actually improving the results for your users versus just processing data faster?
Yeah, so we updated, trying to think of how to say this in a really simple way, but we have a lot of equations, right, that the data measures and maps, and then those all are inputs, and then the outputs are our trend scores and our Confluence system. And basically we just went through with AI and we figured out what equations are the most accurate and what actually has the most impact on what the final I would say prices of whatever ETF or stock you're trading. And then we used AI to kind of change the weighting of the formula and just to make it more accurate. So, the 2000s version was accurate for, the early 2000s market, but with all these different options and how the market trades now, like we had to change the equation a little bit to make it more current, right? The market's always changing. It's always adapting. So if you're using the same formula from 20 years ago, you might not get the most accurate output. So basically we kind of peeled the onion back, went really deep into it and figured out where we could make adjustments to make this more current to today's market. And we're constantly doing that too. Like this isn't, it's not a stagnant product. Like we're always improving things. We're always trying to make it more accurate, and we're always trying to adjust to the market.
So we've talked a little bit about the types of, swing or day or long term. As a user, who should not use the platform? Who is it really not built for?
That's a great question. I mean, we don't use intraday data because we found that's more inaccurate. So what we found, and it's kind of hard to explain, but what we found is the computers know where these swing points are, whether it's our computer, somebody else's algorithm. Like they're all kind of feeding, math is math. So everybody's kind of getting to the same numbers at some point. And what we found is a lot of stocks, especially in a volatile market, the algorithms know where the stops are, or they can guess pretty accurately. So if you're, I would say, an impatient person or a person who can't, sustain a little bit of risk for a short amount of time. Like I've seen people get stopped out of stocks, me included. Like I've gotten stopped out of stocks in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the stock just rips higher. And basically that's a hedge fund or somebody knowing, hey, we're going to run people out of this position at $10.49 because we know everybody's stop is at $10.50. And after lunch, that stock will be, $12, $13, and it'll just keep climbing. And they know how to play those games. So when we were using the intraday data, we found out that those confluence numbers weren't as accurate. So we kept it to, we measure all the price points throughout the day, but we post just at the end of the day. Like our algorithm runs, for an hour after the market closes, and we post stocks at 6 or 7 at night, depending on how volatile the market is. Sometimes our algorithm needs more time, but we've seen people, they get a little nervous and they get stopped out during the day, and they're like, oh, I wish it would update more during the day. And it's like, no, like our numbers were right. It just, you didn't let your process play out. So I guess maybe impatient people who are trying to exactly time the market, I don't think any platform would be for you, because at some point you got to spend more time in the market than trying to time the market.
Yeah. Yep. So let's wrap up with this, Kevin. What are you seeing in the near future for the next few features that you're getting ready to add or launch, and how's that going to give your traders a little bit more ammo?
Yeah, we've been doing some refinements to the back end of the stock screen. We've had some requests from users to create some studies or base cases that they find really interesting that, I've talked about in my newsletter or on podcasts that would make a more default screen. So we've looked at doing that, and I've been hesitant to do that because, that's how I trade, and that might not be how everybody else trades. So I don't want to put something into the world that works for me, but may not work for 50% of the people. But we're trying to build tools around what people are asking for. Like we're getting a ton of feedback on the site. We've had a lot of new users. So we have a lot of great ideas. It's just, we're trying to sift through and figure out what ones actually work and what ones are feasible for, a general person to use, because we don't want to get too advanced that when new people use our site, they're just overwhelmed and they can't figure it out. So we do have some stuff coming. We've started to EO interviews. Like we've had a lot of requests from different users about, hey, like you're more in tune with the stock market than I am. Like, what are some companies that you see some opportunities in? So we started a YouTube channel with a podcast where we invite companies on where they have some interesting things going, where we allow CEOs to kind of direct their message towards our user base, because there's a lot of stories out there and it's hard to sift through which ones are legit or not. So we're trying to find the right companies that we see are undervalued to give them a chance to meet our audience.
Neat. Well, sounds great, Kevin. Well, this has been really enlightening, and for someone listening to this might want to check out more of what your tool can do for them. What's the best way they can learn more and set up an account for themselves?
Yeah, so if you sign up at stockta.com, we're free. We just ask that you create a profile. We use your email just to send you reminders about upcoming CEO calls we have. We have a YouTube channel called StockTA. We also have a Substack called StockTA where we post interviews, different articles that we find interesting throughout the week. So if you just give us a follow at one of those three, I think you'll learn a lot.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks so much for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.